Hello world, it's Lee here from Beach City and we are in magnificent Menlo Park. We're in this awesome house and estate sitting here. We've got a unicorn over there and I'm sitting here next to Scott Armanini. Welcome to Beach City, Scott.
Hey, good day.
G'day. Scott and I were just having a chat about the mosquitoes in Port Douglas with an exoskeleton.
They are. My wife and I honeymooned in Queensland. That was a few years ago, almost 30 years ago. And we were on one of the golf courses there in Port Douglas and made a mistake of hitting a ball out of bounds. I went to retrieve it, and of course then was attacked by the mosquitoes, who then proceeded to chase us in the golf cart. I mean, we were in the golf cart, not the mosquitoes. But they caught us and actually then attacked us as we were driving down the fairway. Yeah,
It's like a squadron of bombers.
It was.
So my good friend Chris Burry, and obviously you are friends with Chris as well. We got invited to this Women's Startup Lab event here, which is just fantastic to see, supporting women entrepreneurs. We saw 5 presentations. One group from New Zealand, which sort of surprised me.
They were super.
They were.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. So Scott, give us a little bit of your background. What have you done, and what brings you to Silicon Valley?
Well, I've been here in Silicon Valley for almost 30 years. Chris and I knew each other from the founding of Avanade, which is a joint venture between Accenture and Microsoft. So we got to know each other starting about 1999, so almost 20 years ago. And I have worked for a number of high-tech companies, Microsoft, obviously, Cisco, HP Software, more recently Accenture Ventures. And I've been in the startup business, if you will, straddling the enterprise software startup world and the enterprise innovation world for the past 5 years.
Right. So you would have seen some pretty dramatic changes in software as a service and the emergence of enterprise cloud over the last, say, 15 years, particularly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we went from premise-based software all the way up. Now everything is cloud-based, and different business models that have come across as a result of that. But one thing that has not gone away, of course, are data centers, and so the hybrid model, where you have both premise and cloud-based, is something that it's, of course, very important, will be very important for decades to come.
Yeah. And so what do you, when you say you're actively involved in startups now, what sort of work are you doing in and around the startup space?
Well, I'm making an occasional investment, large thorny problems that others have either thought were too complicated or perhaps too poorly understood. So, for example, women's health. And I've made an investment in a company called Bloom Life. Bloom Life is in the smart pregnancy business, not from the standpoint of conception, but from the standpoint of monitoring the woman and her unborn child's health, typically in the 3rd trimester right now.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I also look for other areas such as early childhood education, so let's say years 1 through 4. I have some favorite companies in that space as well.
Right.
One out of Czech Republic, it's called Leap Learning. I'm very bullish on that company.
Right.
So shout out to Leap Learning.
Leap Learning. So
Leap Learning and Bloom Life. Hello,
Bloom
folks.
Life. So I'm
Bloom
interested
Life.
to hear more about Bloom Life. Can you tell us a little bit about what that tech is and what they're doing?
Well, I wouldn't do it justice. So
Okay.
I can refer you back to the founders, but
Yeah.
suffice it to say that there's very little information that's available, and very poor. The whole issue of pregnancy is poorly understood. And so if you think about when is data collected on a mother or her unborn child, it's collected when you go in for your periodic exam, or if you feel that you're having labor, then you might go to a delivery room or to an ER, and then they'll put the belt across your abdomen and they'll gather some data. But there's no continuity of data that's actually being originated. And so in Bloom Life, it's a wearable sensor with a smartphone app combined with big data analytics, right? So it's an artificial intelligence engine that is trying to sense and therefore recognize signals that are transmitted from the mother about whether or not she is having labor. And so, one of the greatest cost issues and therefore sources of anxiety to families when they're going through the period of trying to have a child is, am I going through labor? And every pregnancy is different. So we're trying to at least bring some sanity to that marketplace and give not only the mother but her family, the entire family, some reassurance about what is going on with the body.
Right. Wow, that's pretty cool. And are they based in the valley here, or are they
Here and in Belgium, yes.
in Belgium?
And here, yes.
And here,
Yes.
right? Okay. So there's a Belgian connection, and then there's a Czechoslovakian connection. So
Yeah. Well, I think it's by accident, not by design.
Right.
So I also work with startups that are based in China, as an example. So I've been working for I want to say almost 6 years now with an organization called the Silicon Valley Innovation and Entrepreneurship Forum. It's a mouthful, SVIEF, and they are a bridge between China and Silicon Valley. Right. So we have an upcoming conference with Shenzhen that comes up at the end of this month. There's $1 million prize for startups that it's available.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And well, maybe you should get Beach City there to cover the event.
You know, I'd be happy to have you there. I'll introduce you to the founders of the event, and I'd love to have you there.
We'd love to be there, so we'll have to do that. So, Scott, thanks for taking the time to talk with us. I know Chris roped you into it.
Yeah, no worries.
We'll be back with more interviews from the Women's Startup Lab here in Menlo Park. Stay tuned.
Cheers.